Folks, thanks for joining today's presentation. My name is John Dubas with Premier Marketing, and we'll be spending the next 45 minutes or so discussing some of the simplest products that are available to add to your portfolio for this AEP. We're 2 weeks into the annual election period for the Medicare population, and at this point in time, many folks have realized that there are other opportunities that they have to serve this population, some of them simple, some of them not so much, and we'll be going through some suggestions as to products that can help you right away and into the future. Today's presentation is being recorded, and it, along with much of the information that we'll reference through the course of today's webinar, will be sent to all who have RSVP'd to today's presentation by email. A bit of housekeeping: you'll notice in the software package that you are using to access this presentation that there's a section in there for questions. I'd ask that you put your questions in there as they come to mind. Keep in mind that we do answer many of them through the course of the presentation, but we'll check and make certain that we address all those questions for you, if not by the end of the webinar, as a part of the follow-up that will come to you if we don't have the answer for you immediately. You will also note that today's presentation is about 45 minutes or so, and so we'll begin right away with a level set as to who Premier Marketing is, for those of you who aren't as familiar with our organization. We are a national marketing organization founded in 1968 that's part of the Integrity Marketing Platform. We have offices across the country, and we serve as an insurance wholesaler, offering insurance products to the public through independent insurance agents such as yourself. We do so through contracts that are offered at the highest possible commission level and offer recruiting contracts for products for those who qualify. You may have noticed I said 1968, so that means we recently celebrated a milestone in our history, our 50th anniversary, which we feel is quite an accomplishment for what began as a small family agency in rural Nebraska that's grown into one of the largest marketing organizations of its type in the country. And we do so through a full portfolio of products, including the Medicare programs serving that population to take care of their health needs through Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement programs and standalone Part D prescription drug plans, but also through a full portfolio of life insurance and annuity products that include final expense life insurance and pre-need plans. We also offer long and short-term care programs, disability income plans, and ancillary benefits such as dental, vision, hearing, critical illness, cancer, and hospital indemnity programs. Our opening part of our portfolio and our closing part of the portfolio are part of what we'll focus on today. When we look at the Medicare opportunity, of course, folks that are involved realize that there's a huge opportunity in this area, over 60 million people on Medicare now, and the aging of the baby boomers, the silver tsunami, the 10,000 people a day, one every 10 seconds, whatever statistic comes to mind when it comes to the aging in of the population, keeps us aware of the fact that, boy, it's a big market. But if you go by age only, we're missing part of that opportunity because there are folks now that work past the age of 65 or for another reason do not access their Medicare benefits when they're immediately eligible for them. But that's more than made up by the population, about 1/6 to 1/7 of the Medicare population that are actually accessing their benefits because of disability, and they're under the age of 65. And so part of our discussion will address the portfolio of programs that take care of each side of that equation, because it's a varied population with some needs dictated by health circumstances. 2/3 of the population on Medicare are 3+ chronic illnesses, and we note that in this graphic that they are challenged sometimes as well by their wallet. Their income and assets require them to carefully budget for the future, and offering a portfolio of products that can help them do so serves that purpose as well. It also takes care of the fact that there's no one right program for everyone. They have choices. They can pick up Part B or not. Most do. They can pick up a Med Sup to cover the difference, in the shortfall of the medical charges that come about, or they can select just a drug program or a combination thereof. There are also a growing number of people that are taking advantage of the Medicare Advantage programs out there, the Part C plans that incorporate in those benefits in a singular package offered through a private insurance carrier. Having programs in play and being able to pivot quickly can help us address the needs of each of these folks, regardless of their choice. And sometimes in doing so, we need a translator, not only to help ourselves, but also the folks that we deal with. So part of what you'll see as follow-up to today's presentation is a link to an acronym guide that can make certain that you have the definitions and details of the different initials that seem to fly at people in the Medicare world, and a good way of helping them understand the coverages that are available to them. So when we look at a program that deals with simple products to add on during AEP, let's face it, we're 2 weeks into it. We've seen some things that are in the market that dictate a need in certain markets to pick up different carriers or different programs because of demand. But there are also programs that are simpler and easier, and in all honesty, quicker to add to a portfolio. So we'll briefly touch on the need and then some of the wants that we have as part of this program. Because we realize at this point in time, we're not only harvesting what we planted earlier, but we're also planting seeds for the future. And utilizing these programs help us remain active and earning throughout the year. One of the challenges we have in the Medicare space when you offer Medicare Advantage programs is you're harvesting, but you're storing it in a bin until the first of the year, in a manner of speaking, because the Medicare Advantage programs with effective dates of 1/1/21 don't pay until after the first of the year. So we need to address that as well to see what we can do to stabilize the revenue streams coming to us and our agencies. When we look at that Medicare Advantage portfolio that you're running into all the time right now, you'll see that we offer the national carriers and many of the strong regional carriers that can make a difference for you in your market. In your experience in the last couple of weeks, you've probably run across a demand for a product or two that you may not have as part of your portfolio in the Medicare Advantage arena. This is not an area we're focusing on today as a simple or quick way of adding product, but it may be one of necessity for you because these programs require a contracting process that also requires annual certification. If you've done AHIP already, you can apply it to many of these carriers and eliminate at least a portion of the requirements they have for certification. But this is an area that's dictated by need, by what you've run across in the last couple of weeks or into the future, that adds a need for you to add additional programs to your portfolio. We ask that you consider that with us, and in order to do so, let's be mindful of the fact that the number of plans that are available for 2021 is much larger than they have been in the past few years, and we see that some of the big boys that we're very accustomed to seeing in the area, Humana, United, CVS, Aetna, the Blue Cross Blue Shield programs, Centene with all of their folks under their portfolio of products, Anthem and Cigna. These are programs we see consistently across the country that are in demand. Kaiser is a good option, but they do not offer that product through the broker distribution. So we have to look at the programs that are available to us to sell in a commissionable basis and also a good fit for the folks that we visit with. And when you look at that, 2020 versus 2021, we see at least a 10% increase in the number of those plans. So becoming familiar with the options that are available to the folks that we visit with are a necessity for us. And we can go into Medicare.gov, look at the plan finder, find all of the programs that are available in a particular market, but then look at and be mindful of the fact that some of them are not available for the independent broker channel and may not be commissionable. We want to do a fair evaluation of the programs and work on a best fit for the folks that we visit with. And so that does require additional work on our part and additional tools that we make available to the folks we contract with. Our Medicare Center program is a system designed not only to provide a CRM for you to keep track of the folks that you're visiting with and the folks that are part of your book of business through that CRM that comes as part of the program, but it also gives you a means to collect the paperwork that's necessary for you to provide a compliant presentation. So collecting that scope of appointment and storing it for that 10-year period can be done through multiple means with this program. And you have two different programs that concentrate on the Medicare Advantage and PDP world, the Medicare app and the Medicare Link programs, which are powered by Connecture and Sunfire, that give you the opportunity to do compliant comparisons and collect that needed paperwork, store it compliantly, and do a comparison of programs for folks in your area. And this is all available under a single all-in-one universal login from any type of electronic device that also gives you access to the information on that PDP portfolio, which carries these national carriers for you. And keep in mind that if you had products set with folks in the past with Envision, that program is being pulled from the broker distribution across the country, so you need to be mindful of taking care of those folks as well. But the program gives you then the option to look at that increased number of PDP programs and the variance that you see across the country with different products and different plans with different benefits. Having a program available to compare them for your prospects and clients is paramount to your success. It's also important to make certain that you have a Medicare Supplement portfolio that's competitive for you in your markets as well, as opposed to the Medicare Advantage and prescription drug area, where the contracting process also includes that certification need. This area with Medicare Supplements, well, there's only one carrier that requires certification in this area, and that's the Medicare Supplement program offered by United Healthcare with the AERP branding. The other ones are pretty simple to add. They give you a variance of programs that can be a competitive advantage to you. And keep in mind, even though the plans in the Medicare Supplement world are standardized and modernized, the benefits are the same on the plan type, excluding some of the ancillaries that can be added on thereafter. The biggest variance is cost, and there can be a huge difference between a Plan G by one company versus a Plan G by another company in that same zip code. So having a tool to evaluate what's most competitive in your market and making it as easy as possible to provide that information to the public is, once again, very important for you and your success. This is the third component of the Medicare Center program, which gives you access to the CSG quoting programs, which not only enable you to offer a complimentary Medicare Supplement review for your prospects and clients, it also gives you an idea of what programs are most price competitive in your market and gives you other details when it comes to, okay, what are the regular increases we're seeing in this area. It also gives you the opportunity, if you concentrate particularly in the Medicare Supplement world, of collecting that scope of appointment electronically and storing it here. One of the first reactions I get most of the time when I talk to agents about that is like, John, a scope isn't required for a Medicare Supplement. No, it's not. But most of the time when you discuss Medicare Supplements, they want to talk about standalone drug plans. Scope is required for that. And if you use a generic scope, it gives you the opportunity to set up discussions about other products as well within the health arena that you can conduct in that same appointment. So it's my strong recommendation that regardless of whether or not you intend to speak to Medicare Advantage or prescription drug plans, when you talk about your Medicare Supplements, I personally would collect that scope of appointment and utilize the different programs that are laid out in that to set up discussions on those programs that are foremost in our discussion today. The plans that are easy to add, quick to add, and have other advantages for you. That scope of appointment, boy, it lays out those different options, but it also gives you a gateway to discuss dental, vision, hearing programs and hospital indemnity products. They have different weights available to them, in a manner of speaking, when you're talking to the Medicare Supplement portfolio, because, well, gee, if you're planning a Plan G, or if the person's been on Medicare before 1/1/20 and we're talking Plan F, there may not be a need as glaring for that population when it comes to hospital indemnity programs. But it gives you the opportunity to speak to it and also bring into the discussion the other products that are health-based that are not part of the scope, the critical illness or cancer plans, which are always a demand product. But regardless of the type of base medical coverage that you have put in place for your prospects and clients, there is always the need for a discussion about dental, vision, and hearing products. Many of the Medicare Advantage products do have some benefit in this area incorporated into their programs. Most commonly, Medicare supplements do not. They may have discount programs on the outside of the standardized benefits, but it's always a good topic for discussion, and you're setting it up with a regulatory tool that is a good habit to get into speaking to and offering, and that's your scope of appointment, because it gives you then the opportunity to speak to those things that are not covered by Medicare. We've given a presentation on this previously, and the link to that will come to you as part of the follow-up. But we look in these different categories off of page 49 of the Medicare and You book, and we see the dental coverages offered, not offered, or being mentioned as not covered by Medicare. That's a big point of discussion in here. It also brings into play the vision benefit and the hearing benefit, and then a couple of things that can be of big value to you down the road as well, and that is addressing the need for long-term care and other programs of that sort. So it gives you an entree to back up the discussion that you're currently having with the medical pieces, the dental, vision, hearing piece, and when we speak to long-term care, that's a different discussion that in most circumstances requires a little bit of homework on our part, but that enables you to set up future appointments as well. They can be, depending upon your schedule and the demands upon your time during AEP, after the close of the annual election period, after Pearl Harbor Day. That might be something that you set up in an approach that says, okay, as our New Year's resolution, we want to make certain that we cover all of your needs. Let's set up an appointment in January to discuss long-term care and how that need can be very important to your financial security. However, one of the things that we really want to spend our time with today, of course, is, boy, John's finally getting around to it after nearly 20 minutes of talking, and that's the programs that are easy to add, easy to sell, and also easy to use for different types of generation of interest with our prospects and clients. And we categorize them into these 4 different areas with dental, vision, hearing, the hospital indemnity programs, both of which are natural discussions based on that generic scope of appointment that we showed just a little bit ago. But sometimes that discussion with hospital indemnity is a natural gateway into discussing critical illness and accident cancer plans as a part of a regular discussion. And each of these categories, we have the national leaders for you with the companies that offer these programs. The nice things about these plans, they're a need product. It's very simple to bring in a discussion about dental programs simply by asking, who do you use as a dentist? There are natural entrees into that discussion. And we see in the dental world particularly that most people on Medicare don't have that coverage. And so it is not only a physical need, it is also a want to make certain that we have those coverages. Because most of the folks realize that they need to take care of that part of their health coverages, but most of them, well, the road to perdition is paved with good intentions, so to speak. They have the idea in play, but many of them realize that they may not have the financial wherewithal to attend to those needs. And offering a dental program that gives them a great return on their money, if you look at it that way, where you're spending $20 to $30 a month for anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000 worth of coverage in different circumstances, it can make a big difference for them. In addition to the Medicare piece of it, the lack of coverage for that, it is also a great way for them to make certain that the attention to their oral health may have strong ramifications when it comes to other type of physical maladies that are increased risk based on poor oral health. We look at the increases in heart disease, stroke, and respiratory infection that may be part of poor oral health, and we have even greater reason to discuss these programs with our prospects and clients. It's also an area where you will run into households that are of varied age, and these programs are not targeted entirely to the Medicare population. We have a number of programs that give us an opportunity to use these for the T65 population, because we'll see premium increases between 64 and 65. But many of these, the youngest age that we can approach and address with these, well, some of them are right around 18. So we have other people in the household that we can address their needs with these programs as well. So we're stretching our audience a bit beyond that 60 million plus that are on Medicare. It's also a circumstance, too, of needs for coverages based on expenses that may not come just from the medical portion of the billing. And we see that a lot in the treatment of cancer. Most folks that you visit with, the vast majority of them, know of folks that are affected by cancer, either a family member or a friend, or sometimes themselves as well, and they realize that the cost of addressing that illness isn't just the medical portion of it, and there are other dollars that are needed to address the needs of dealing with cancer. It gives us then the opportunity to visit with them about it, and there are a number of programs out there that can be comboed between cancer and heart attack, stroke. Great programs out there that folks that have dealt with someone as well that they know of, or part of their family that has suffered a stroke, they realize some of the costs that come with the treatment of that physical malady as well. And it goes well beyond just the cost of the treatment when the person's in the hospital. It's getting to the hospital. It's dealing with the circumstances thereafter. I have a brother who is in a VA facility in rural Nebraska, actually, that has been there 3 years now. Massive stroke, has not recovered from the left, his left side of his body is still partially paralyzed. And being a veteran, a lot of times folks will say, well, the VA will take care of me. What we've discovered in working with my brother is the fact that, yeah, eventually they will, but you can't always get into that facility very quickly. So we have a need for other programs dictated by that. So the cost of that care, and then realizing the need for either a short-term care or a long-term care policy to help us with that shortfall. Because we all realize those facilities are not inexpensive, and we need help in that area as well. It's also interesting to note that if a person has a stroke, they are much more likely to suffer a second stroke as well. So planning ahead and helping to address some of those issues based on some of the shortfall that we see in the Medicare programs helps us with that discussion as well. These programs, if you get into short or long-term care plans, obviously, depending upon the state, there may be additional certification that you have to do for those programs. So that gives us then the opportunity to look at them, set a future appointment, take care of the business we need to do now during AEP, and get our ducks in a row for a future appointment, satisfying all the requirements to offer these programs. That's with long-term care. Most of the short-term care programs don't require that. So it's a great way to get into an area that is of great need, greatly underinsured our population across the country, but it is also something that we can engage in fairly quickly in that circumstance. Plain and simple, somebody goes into the hospital, they're going to spend some money. If they've got coverages through some of the Medicare Supplement programs that cover the shortfall, it's not as big of a deal necessarily, but then we have to look at the expenses that are incurred outside of the medical world. And if we're talking about the Medicare Advantage programs, there are some out there that have a singular copay for a hospital confinement. More often than not, however, it's a daily copay for a specific number of days, and having a plan in place that helps to take care of that financial shortfall can make a big difference, because it's not cheap in the hospital. One of the reasons we look at this area very closely at this particular point in time is because contracting in those 4 areas of the ancillary products can be done very quickly. We have programs set in place that help you do multiple contracting situations. We'll discuss that in a bit. But if you have a particular carrier in mind or a particular need in an area, most carriers now have an electronic process to help you contract quickly. And we can see the difference in that in contracting an agent between using an electronic system or a paper system. And much like what you're seeing in your work with the public now, using that electronic application can really speed up the process for you in serving your population, but it also has that same effect for you when it comes to contracting with organizations as well. It can make it much more quickly. It can help you contract much more quickly, is the way I should put that. And it also then gives you the opportunity to offer those programs much sooner as well. Keep in mind that same process comes into play when you're looking at the Medicare Advantage plans, which right now in the portfolio that we've addressed so far is the slowest contract to pick up, in all honesty. But those carriers do have electronic means of contracting as well. Sometimes with some of the carriers, that's required. That's the only way they'll pick up the contract. With the largest Medicare Advantage carrier in the marketplace, using their electronic means of contracting will cut 3 to 5 days off of that process for you. So it's something to keep in mind with. We want to make certain that we're dealing with a program that we can bring on board quickly at this particular point in time. Unless you're setting appointments into the future, it's important for us to have access to those programs quickly. And we don't need Wile E. Coyote chasing us to know that. It also is an area that with these ancillary programs, they don't require that certification factor. Even if you have completed AHIP, which allows you as either a requirement for many of the Medicare Advantage plans or as a means of bypassing certification with some of the carriers in those areas because you've already done that with AHIP, it speeds that process up, obviously. It's one less step that you have to do, not only take care of, but also make certain that you're passing that certification and having it in play. So having these ancillary products as part of your portfolio, well, you can add them much more quickly because they don't require that testing. It's also a means for you to create an additional revenue stream for you and your agency. When we look at a lot of the work that we're doing right now, look at this, we're nearly at the end of October, and many of the applications that we've completed in this first 2 weeks of the annual election period, the earliest we're going to get paid on any of them, it's after January 1st. So we need to make certain that we have a good Christmas, that we have a fat turkey on the table for Thanksgiving. And in order to be able to pay for that, we need to look at means of maintaining a more level revenue stream. Utilizing these products enable us to do so. They pay right as they are issued, so we're seeing payments throughout the way. And it also reminds us to do some additional things in our Medicare Advantage world, taking care of those health risk assessments through the electronic means that are made available by the carriers give us a little bit extra revenue as well. So we need to evaluate some of the things that we can do to maintain the dollars coming in the door to take care of our budgetary means and give us the money we need to market more effectively, but also pay that light bill through the end of the year. So creating an additional revenue stream is one of the reasons why you'll want to add those carriers offering those ancillary benefits. It's also important to note that the more product that we have in the house, the higher our retention is. Our persistency is higher in each of the products that we have with a particular household. They don't even have to be with the same carrier. They just have to be with us as the same agent. It drives up our persistency the more programs that we have in the house and enables us to manage our book of business month over month, year over year, and a great way of driving, once again, that retention, that persistency, which in essence, for a fully commissioned individual, that's our salary. That's our renewals. Those are the monies we know are going to be coming in as long as we serve that population correctly and they're there to take advantage of those programs. It's also an area with these programs, when we look at dental, vision, hearing, when we look at critical illness, accident, cancer plans, these type of programs, hospital indemnity programs, that they are available for a wider array of ages. So once again, as I mentioned when we briefly discussed the dental programs, these are programs that can help us with our primary market if you're concentrating on the Medicare world, regardless if it's Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement, that's the right product to address their needs. It gives us then the opportunity to open doors in other places. In my particular circumstance, my parents were, well, Dad was 7 years older than Mom. He was on Medicare much earlier, obviously. Boy, I bet about 7 years than my mother. But that same need for other products can be addressed by some of these ancillary programs we can bring on quickly. The dental, vision, hearing need is there. The need to help if someone goes into the hospital, it's there. If you have an ACA compliant program for an under 65 individual, much of what we're discussing in this area for the Medicare population, it applies there too. And it makes a difference then for us as to the number of people that we can touch, because it's a wider range of ages that come into play. That's discounting, of course, the medically disabled folks that are on Medicare, but those are folks that are a little harder to identify in a lot of circumstances, and we see them in many circumstances when we're visiting with people face to face. So we've got a wider array of folks that we can address with these programs. And one of the things that it does as well is it gives us not only the motivation, but also the need to stay in touch with the folks that we're visiting. So as we go through and we talk to people and we give them an opportunity to look at additional coverages, discuss the need for those programs, and lay out solutions for them, as we go back and we discuss with people, it gives us that natural rhythm to visit with them on an ongoing basis. And you can see in this particular circumstance, if you are disciplined enough to do that, and keep in mind that you are serving your population by doing so, those number of contacts that you can lay out without being the Herb Tarlick off of WKRP and open a plaid jacket and say, hey, you want to buy a watch type of individual, it gives you then the opportunity to differentiate yourself from your competition as well. Sell additional product on an ongoing basis fully address the needs of your prospects and clients, and build a moat around your book of business. You're serving your population thoroughly, you're going through and doing it consistently, they're going to stick with you. And they're going to recommend you to other folks, and they're going to buy more products from you. Being persistent and doing what you need to do on an ongoing basis not only takes care of the folks that you're visiting with now during AEP, but sets up those future conversations that give us an opportunity to address the additional shortfalls in their coverage on an ongoing basis. So that retention persistency piece is a big thing. Pull the persistency into this, and we have an opportunity to address the needs of prospects that have already purchased from you and are more likely to do business with you in the future as well. All that said and done, there's also the intrinsic reward that you get by properly handling the folks that you're visiting with. It's the cast your bread upon the waters and it'll come back to you, in a manner of speaking, paraphrasing scripture. You're doing the right thing. It's going to create your reputation and enhance it in the marketplace that you're working with. If it's a target area particularly, you become the subject matter expert for the different programs. It gives you the opportunity to use then your good reputation that you've earned through hard work, persistence, and doing the right thing to also increase your marketability in a particular area. This is one of the things that many folks will discuss when it comes to referrals. Doing the right thing makes you referable. And that's a great way of getting into additional households as well. So some of the things that we're looking to do with Premier in order to support that function, keep in mind the ancillary products that are quicker for you to add to your portfolio, a natural add-on to your base sale. It also gives you then the opportunity, as I mentioned, to electronically contract with a number of carriers that you've discovered that are needed to be part of your portfolio of products. This software system through SurancePay allows you to create an agent profile, store the information you need to contract with different carriers, your errors and admissions coverage, your insurance license information, answer the questions that are common on a insurance contract, storing it in this particular software package, and then selecting carriers electronically where to autofill those contracts makes the process quicker for you. If you're looking, however, in certain areas where you need something as quick as possible, there may be Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement programs where a direct electronic link to that carrier can be helpful for you. It's important to know because not every carrier works with the software package. Many do, and many will actually allow this program to autofill an electronic link for another carrier. But in some circumstances, based on the need, we'd want to direct you to the quickest way of accessing that program for you to sell, that program for you to offer your prospects and clients moving forward. We also want to make certain that we're protecting your financial background and your wherewithal by offering discounted errors and admissions coverage for those folks to protect your book of business. And that includes then having a program such as this, E&O, that you own. You're not added to a blanket policy for one program and wondering how you're protecting yourself with the rest. This gives you the opportunity to take care of that protection you need, and in most circumstances required by the carriers in order to contract, regardless of whom you're contracting through. We realize as independent insurance agents, you have a number of opportunities to offer different programs. In all honesty, having been in this portion of the insurance world for 35 plus years, I have yet to see any marketing organization that offers every program in the world. And if you're interested in making certain that you have that circumstance, or you don't want to put all your business with one organization, you need E&O that'll cover you across the board, and this will do that for you. We also want to make certain that we're taking care of the license that you have that gives you the opportunity to offer these products. And so we have discounted, bundled continuing education programs through our association with WebCE, a great way to make certain that your license stays in play. And we have a means for you to add to your own benefit package as well through a non-cancelable DI program, modified guarantee issue, where you share in the commission, and you can use that to protect your own ability to earn. Much as where today's presentation is being recorded and available to you shortly as soon as it updates, the presentations we've done in the past are also available for you on a recorded basis 24/7 through our website at premiersmi.com or on our YouTube channel. And these concentrate not just on different marketing techniques, some great programs out there on working with providers or faith-based organizations, things of that nature, but it also gives you then the opportunity to look at specific trainings for different carriers or different product concepts. They're out there for you to use, and we urge you to do so. Remember, through our website at premiersmi.com or through our YouTube channel. We also want to make certain that you have full electronic support for the products that you're working with in the insurance world. And that includes and features, of course, our Medicare Center program that gives you that singular sign-on with the CRM available to you. It means to collect that electronic scope of appointment and support for that 10-year period and quote the different programs for the base medical coverage and the PDP plans, but also the different Medicare supplements. But we also have, as you note, different quote engines available for other areas that you may be offering. And this is also a great opportunity to use this software package to cross-sell. Great tools that are part of it. Those links for some of those tutorials in that area will come to you as part of the follow-up as well. But it then gives you a means to discuss programs that cover those other pieces of shortfall. Great way to quote the dental, vision, hearing programs. Great way to quote the hospital indemnity programs. And it then gives you the opportunity to speak to final expense. That's a different appointment because it's not health-based, not covered under that scope, but a great way to use then the legacy safeguard postseason play that comes as part of a marketing program available through our organization and allows you to cover that aspect of your prospects and clients' needs as well. In these different areas, particularly when you are focusing on some of the ancillary products, these are programs that come with additional incentives in many circumstances from the carriers that are offering them. They may be part of an incentive program that gives you additional marketing or commission dollars based on sales of these products. They will also, in many circumstances, help you qualify for carrier trips, a great way to drive into that because the Medicare Advantage and PDP programs have the maximum compensation set by the government. You don't see those programs with additional incentives in most circumstances or that help you qualify for the carrier trips. The Med Subs, ancillary products, different animal. There are additional dollars out there available for you, and we have a spot on our website that lays that all into a singular place. That may influence you as to what program that you offer an individual. Should the base benefits be similar and your compensation is different from one plan to another, well, it gives you something else to think about. We'll put it that way. It also helps you qualify for additional assistance from our organization and the producers convention that we offer to our contracted agents as well. Some of the things we also want to make available to you are different means of getting in front of the folks for one reason or another. We have contact lists available for you to cold call should you choose to do so, price of which is based on many circumstances, but can be laid out as quickly as here's a complimentary list, butted up against do not call. You can't cold call from Med Advantage or PDP programs, but you can for Med Subs. You can for demand products as well, such as dental programs, which are a great way of opening the doors of visiting with folks now using that product versus some of the base medical. a way to consider using that in the future. There are also the means that, and some of these are already recorded and available to you, as I mentioned before, of ways of increasing the value if you are involved in a retail program. You're sitting in a Walmart, you're working with a carrier that puts you in Walgreens or CVS or whatever other retail facility. We have programs out there that help you maximize the value of those programs and also help lend a greater way of penetrating the community in that area with access to other centers of influence. And they may include those faith-based organizations, which is an entirely another way of working year-round, offering presentations. And I'm speaking to this and laying into some of the other centers of influence, such as working with providers, and we realize that we are in a circumstance none of us have seen in our lifetime, I would wager. I wasn't around, most certainly, for the Spanish flu epidemic of 1918. And we realize that in some circumstances, this may not be a face-to-face marketing opportunity. However, you have those electronic means of reaching out to that community and addressing them. The Zoom meetings that many people are doing in replacing a face-to-face appointment with a different prospect. There are many folks that are using that same circumstance to work with faith-based organizations. So you can address a seminar selling type of situation with folks that need that information through those same electronic means. And because we have the other tools available to us to electronically enroll these folks, we're doing so most efficiently, compliantly, and adding to our production on an ongoing basis. It puts us out there that we can repeat those type of efforts throughout the year and drive business throughout the year as well. It's also a great way to meet with those folks that are delivering the care that is part of what you're insuring these folks for. So going through and working with doctors, working with specialists, working with other folks that deliver that care, dentists, DME providers, durable medical equipment folks, or home health care individuals, utilizing the programs that are out there, the support that we offer and that you probably use already in one means or another. It gives us then the opportunity to maximize our value now, our productivity now, and throughout the year. And because it is AEP, many of the Medicare Advantage or prescription drug folks that you've worked with may have different prospects available for you as well. This generally is a quid pro quo situation where, boy, they're scratching your back, but you're scratching theirs as well. You've done business with them. You've demonstrated your ability, and they may have additional folks for you to visit with. Very important for us to maximize that opportunity. So if you don't have a relationship with a carrier's agent manager in your neck of the woods, boy, we need to make certain that that happens, because in many circumstances, those are the folks that control the lead flow for you in your market and other support programs that may be available to you. We also have the internet lead programs we'll discuss in just a little bit as well, and we do still offer direct mail support. Tried and true means of reaching out to folks. We deeply discount the cost of the programs through our preferred vendors that give you an opportunity to do this type of marketing on a consistent basis. We've seen throughout the year that's been affected by this pandemic an increase in some of the response through direct mail, and it can make a big difference for you if you're able to do it consistently. Because let's face it, any type of marketing program, it's kind of like an exercise program. You do it once or twice, you feel the pain. Maybe get a little bit out of it, if nothing else, psychologically. But if you're doing it on a consistent basis and able to do so, that then gives you the full benefit of those programs. People then recognize who you are in many circumstances. And if you do so consistently with an outreach, it'll drive your return as well. There was an Allstate study that I had seen years ago that said in many circumstances, folks will respond after the 7th attempt. Remember that earlier slide that talked about how people follow up with different prospects? It can make a big difference for you if you're persistent and consistent in that area, and having support in direct mail can help you do so. And as I mentioned, we're doing so through different vetted lead vendors. We do so in order to make certain that we're protecting you on a compliance basis as well. You can drive up a pretty good return if you promise a whole bunch of stuff to folks. It's also a means that can get you into a little bit of hot water compliance-wise, particularly in the Medicare Advantage and prescription drug world. You got some latitude with some of the other programs, but we want to make certain that you're not only seeing folks consistently through these programs, but you're doing so on a compliant basis with a known type of perspective as to what these folks are expecting. We want to make certain we take that care of that for you. And then we also have some programs that help on the back end. So instead of funding an entire mail program on your own, which can require a higher amount out of pocket and a different type of strain on your marketing budget, these are also then, you're basically paying for the returns on a mail program. So these systems are available to you through an arrangement with a vendor that we have in play. And it's also another opportunity to do so through another vendor that we've vetted that gives you the opportunity to respond to direct mail leads as well. These are pricings that can vary from time to time over the year, but there are also programs where this particular vendor has an opportunity to use what might be a little more of an aged response, but the cost can be spectacular for you. Some of them are available without cost. Some may be as low as $3 per lead. So there are different lead programs out there on the what's already been sent back to us on a direct mail basis that can have a pretty immediate response to you when it comes to people to talk to. So let's face it, if you're doing a mail campaign on your own, it takes a while for you to order it, it takes a while for it to go out, and it takes a while for the responses to come back. We want people to talk to quickly. Let's look at some of the return mail that's out there, and let's look at some of these internet programs that are available as well. We have a Facebook program for both final expense and Medicare that can garner you people to chat with, people to visit with much more quickly than a direct mail campaign. And we want to make certain that you realize that this might be a great way for you to add to your current lead flow. 2 weeks in, we've worked with a bunch of folks. We're looking at our book of business. We're also looking to expand that, but we want to do so quickly, adding some of the ancillary programs and utilizing these type of programs to get a bead on folks we can talk to quickly and really help us. It's all then a situation of, are these programs appropriate for you? We're asking for you to carefully examine them and work with us to grow our mutual business. It is a portion of a decision process in order to make certain that we are not necessarily straying from our main focus, but looking at different means of visiting with those folks, more people that may respond to different types of outreach, but also covering them as completely as possible. So once again, look back at the different categories that are quick for you to add. We're looking at those dental, vision, hearing prospects. We're looking at folks that may need a hospital indemnity program to close a gap on one of the good, bad, and ugly aspects of Medicare Advantage programs. That then, in many circumstances, leads us to critical illness and cancer discussions as well. We make that part of our overall portfolio. It gives us an opportunity to put it in play quickly and address those needs and drive additional revenue for us across the board. When we look then to make certain that we have an opportunity to visit with you, we want to make certain that that's a reciprocal relationship and ask you to realize that you can reach out to us quickly as well. Dialing the 1-800-365-8208 number will get you in touch with our folks. If you're working with a Premier Marketer and Agent Success Manager now. Great way to get in contact with them. If you're looking for detail for these programs and you've not worked with Premier in the past, well, this gives us an opportunity to discuss the products that you're interested in and the products that you need to move forward. You can also access additional information on those programs, obviously, through our website at premiersmi.com, and give us a preparation for discussion of how we can do some things quickly to further fuel your annual election period now. It may be a means of adding those additional revenue streams. It may be a door opener to get to your core products. Whichever way it goes about, we have a means of addressing that quickly, succinctly, and get it rolling for you as soon as possible. Checking the questions that have come in for today's presentation, we see that Chatty John may have addressed most of those for you already. I don't see anything that we haven't addressed. So until we are able to visit with you about these programs, watch for the follow-up. Obviously, that'll come out hopefully a little later today as this recording updates. We'll have that opportunity to visit with you as to, gee, I need this to address the needs that I've seen in any of the categories that we visited. Until we have that discussion, I want to thank you for the time that you've invested with us here today. We realize your most precious commodity is your time. That's even made more of a focus during the annual election period, where we need to reach as many people as possible in order to address their needs. But we thank you for this consideration. We look forward to that conversation in the very near future. And until we're able to do so, we wish you good selling. Thanks so very much, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Thanks so much.